Yeah, it would be interesting. I have no idea what that is, but it's going to be interesting to see what you guys are saying. We'll take a look at those social media pages a little bit later on. Right now, though, as a parent, there are many things you have to navigate through. That's no joke. And one of those things, of course, if you're a parent to more than one child, is sibling rivalry. Now, today, educational psychologist Anel Annandale joins us in studio to give some guidance and insight into this topic. Anel, lovely to see you again. How are you doing?
Thank you. You too. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Awesome, man. Sibling rivalry. Is it normal? And what does normal look like? Let's start there.
Let's start with maybe it's common. I don't know if it's normal. It's quite common. Yeah, and I think what you could expect to see is a fair amount of jealousy, complaining, tattletaling.
Yeah, so there's always, I mean, I'm seeing it with my boys. Now, my boys are about 3 years apart. How does age play a role here in terms of the degree or intensity of sibling rivalry?
I think really, if you think about younger children, sibling rivalry actually has its roots in competition. They're competing for the same resources, be it parental attention or toys or whatever. So generally, the older the children are, the less they're competing for that resource. And older children might also be mature enough to actually not be as jealous or to help out a little bit more than with the sibling, instead of feeling that now the sibling is taking away the parent's attention.
Yeah. So obviously there's sibling rivalry. It's going to happen. It's not something that you're going to avoid. It's all about, I think, managing it from a parent's point of view. But as they grow older, how does this not change sibling rivalry? Let's say you're moving out of the toddler phase and you're going into primary school, high school. These things change. To what degree does it change, and how do you as a parent need to look at it or view it?
Well, luckily for parents, it tends to get better as children get older.
Yeah.
As children get older, they're a little bit more independent, choosing to hang out a little bit more with their own friends and away from the family. That's it, a little bit more street smart. And I think they also start realizing that it's good to have like an ally in the house, you know? So they realize they've got to be nice to their sibling.
Yeah.
So it will get better.
So what can parents do here to foster a good relationship between siblings? With regards to sibling rivalry, if I'm just taking a look at my two boys, and I mean, they're still very young, and but they have their bouts. I mean, my 3-year-old doesn't stand back for nothing, you know, and my eldest is now 6, or he's turning 6 now. But it just feels as a parent, you're constantly kind of in there, you know, and you know, kind of trying to like, no, don't do this, don't do this. Did you hit your brother? No, I didn't hit my brother. You're lying. You know what's? It gets crazy. It's crazy. So what advice do you have for parents with regards to, I think, just going about it in a positive manner?
Well, one of the first things you'll probably hear is that it's not fair. You're not being fair, even if you try. And I think that this is something that's going to come up. So for parents to actually sometimes be prepared to explain why they make certain decisions, to help your children see why that's important. Also that it's really important, the more good memories children share, that acts as a bit of a buffer. So if they've got good times in common, try and schedule activities that's fun for the whole family, that everybody enjoys. That helps as a bit of a glue. Lots of time on their own, lots of time individually with a parent, that all seems to help.
So you just got to manage it. Just one last question before we go. Sibling rivalry, can it be considered as healthy for the development of children?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of good things that comes out of sibling rivalry.
Because I think that a lot of parents take it as a big negative, and you know, oh, my kids are constantly fighting and whatnot. But if you can manage it, the fighting or the rivalry, it is a good thing.
Absolutely, yeah. We find that children are often just a little bit tougher, you know, when they have a sibling.
Yeah. Prepping you for life, you see. It's a good thing about a brother and a sister right there. Thank you, Anel. Interesting topic indeed. If you have any comments or questions, you can always let us know on our Expresso Media or Expresso Morning Show SABC3 Facebook page, also on Twitter, at Expresso Show with that hashtag Expresso Show if you want to add your 2 cents in there. But we will be back with Anel a little bit later on to continue the subject of sibling rivalry.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You tuned into your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, right here on SABC3. Time for some parenting talk once again. Now, earlier on this morning, we spoke about sibling rivalries and the complexities that come with it. And right now, we are continuing that conversation with our educational psychologist, Anel Annandale. Anel, thank you very much once again for joining us this morning. So we unpacked sibling rivalry a little bit earlier on this morning, and we ended off with the fact that it can be healthy. And you want to expand on that a little bit more. How can sibling rivalry be healthy going forward for the development, I think, of the youngsters?
And of course, we're talking about moderate levels, right?
Moderate levels, yes.
Just a little bit. But what's really good about it is that it can teach children to be quite assertive and to stand up for themselves. It teaches them how to negotiate and also how to resolve conflict situations and not to be afraid of conflict, but to just head on, go for it.
Instead of the kicking and screaming. Tango, we don't want to do that as adults. It doesn't work. When it comes to your sibling rivalry with regards to siblings who are maybe just boys or just girls or a mixture, how does it look different?
I think most parents will tell you that it feels equally intense.
I'm sure.
But the research actually shows that there's a little bit less rivalry between opposite gender children, only in two children families. When there's more, you're going to see the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's got something to do with the fact that we treat them slightly differently.
Yeah. But if it's, let's say, take two boys, I mean, things can get rather... If I take a look at my brother, we're 13 months apart, you know, so growing up, we were very close, and there was a very fierce kind of competitiveness between us. And sometimes, I mean, you know, it's two boys, and we do fight. But what's the worst case scenario? If left unchecked by the parents, and if sibling rivalry gets a little bit out of hand, so to speak, how does that affect the family dynamic going forward, especially when the kids now grow up and adults?
I mean, it just creates stress in the family. Everyone's stressed out. There's a lot of stress going on. It can lead to very intense feelings of anger, vengefulness, jealousy, and it can actually be outright dangerous. You know, young children might feel this need to get back at a sibling, but they don't always have the insight to realize what results their actions might have.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And I mean, sometimes we see as adults that two siblings just totally cut each other off and have no relationship.
Which is sad. I think it also puts mom and dad in a rather difficult situation, because you obviously want to facilitate a positive relationship between everyone in the family, and if one is not talking to the other, you stuck in the middle, and that's the scenario that you want to avoid, or that I want to avoid going forward as well. So just from your point, how do we manage sibling rivalry? From a parent's point of view, what are practical tips, and how can parents approach maybe a situation where, you know, there's a bit of conflict between the two?
I think it's important to address it head on, get them together. A family meeting is always a good thing. There should always be the expectation that you expect them to get on. Even though sibling rivalry is expected to be normal, we shouldn't just accept it as the status quo.
Yeah.
You know, give each child the opportunity to express what they're thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know my dad had a thing when myself and my brother, we were fighting quite a bit. He would say, all right, you two, in the room, I'm going to shut the door, you know, stay there for 15 minutes and sort it out, you know, and talk it through. Is that a way that you can go and facilitate maybe conversation between two siblings?
Sometimes we find that the kids are so upset with each other, you actually do need a facilitator. So it's good to have a parent involved, or somebody who's like a little bit objective, to just help them each understand the other's point of view. But yeah, I think what's great about what your dad did is like, look, this has to be solved. Somehow we're going to figure this out.
And we love each other. We're three brothers, and we really love each other, even though that we were at each other's throats quite a bit as youngsters. Any final words of advice with regards to sibling rivalry, managing it, and making sure that you turn it into a healthy, maybe, I think, learning curve?
I think that's the thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything that grieves a parent more than seeing the children that they love so much at war with each other.
Yeah.
So even though, like I've said, we know that it's accepted and it's normal, don't accept it as the status quo. Look at it as a dysfunctional relationship that's going to need the interventions and, you know, the work that any dysfunctional relationship is going to require.
And realize that it's going to happen
Yes.
as a parent, because I've met many parents, you know, when they have toddlers especially, or babies. My kids will never fight. They're going to love each other. They're never going to argue about anything. No, it's going to happen.
Yes, definitely.
And you're going to manage it. Anel, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. That's your
Thanks,
parenting right here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show for your Wednesday morning.